Hi, everybody. John Harris here with you from the cheap seats with my pal Billy Smith. Hey, Bill, how you doing?
Oh, just great, Johnny. How you doing?
All right. What's your shirt say? I can see the top part. I don't always.
I don't always stream at the TV, but it's hockey season.
Oh, yeah. Good call. Good call there. Uh, we got a couple things to discuss in sports, then we'll get to our picks for the playoffs. Playoffs?
Playoffs.
Playoffs? We're talking about playoffs? No, we're talking about practice. Practice? Not a game. Not a game. Practice.
Practice.
The best rants ever. And the reason I'm starting off with those two well-known rants is you got to go on YouTube, look up Toronto coaches rant. The Toronto Raptors the other night against the Los Angeles Lakers really, and you know what? This isn't one of those that I'm going to sugarcoat, go feel like they looked like. No, the Toronto Raptors in the NBA got screwed in LA when officials sure looked like somebody, either them or the NBA, wanted to figure out a way for the Lakers to win that game and get themselves back to 500, because that game apparently put them at 500 for the season. The Raptors were screwed in the fourth quarter. I believe the exact total was 23 foul shots attempted by the Lakers, 14 of them by Anthony Davis, because they threw the ball inside. And anytime he did something, they called a foul as well. 23 foul shots to 2 for the Raptors. 2. Uh, and even LeBron James, you could tell he was half-hearted when they asked him, and he goes, well, they fouled and we didn't. And that's all he could say. And that's because that's what the officials called. It was absolutely horrible. It really did look like the fix was in. What was the official that went to jail or almost did? Tim Hurley or something, or Hurley? I could have sworn they must have dusted him off, put a mask on him or something, and put him out there because somebody had to bet on that game for that to turn around the way it did. It was absolutely awful. Toronto should have won that game. And go back, watch the head coach's rant from Toronto after the game. I'm not going to try and do any of it because I can't do it justice. No one can. He is going to get a fine, Bill, and it wouldn't surprise me if it's $100,000. I mean, this is a classic, ready to go post game conference rant. He doesn't take any questions. He just lets it rip. And there's no, and every expert in basketball you talk to just went, well, he made some points. It's not like they thought he was talking out his ass. Oh, there we go. The kids can't watch now. But go to YouTube, watch that rant. It's Toronto. You probably just put Toronto coaches rant, or once you put Toronto coach rant might come up, or post game whatever might come up. You'll see it. It's a classic, folks. And I don't mean classic bad. I mean, here's a guy sticking up for his team, but it sure looked like he was right. And from that point on, if anything, his team and the city of Toronto are going to love this guy because he was fighting for him. And that's what you want. But he's fighting for him, and he's got some valid points. And he's letting people know we're not taking this lying down. Good for him.
Yeah, I don't blame him. Yeah.
Go if you go back and you want to look at stats and see what he's talking about, and he gives you the stats too to back him up. Uh, watch that rant. It's absolutely classic, Bill.
I will do that.
There we go. So that's why I started out that way, folks, because I want you guys to go see it, and you'll go, wow. You will. Anybody with sports will go, wow. I mean, I was going to say he came short of accusing the refs of trying to fix the game, but I don't even think he came short. You listen to his rant. He was there. So we'll move on, but I wanted to let everybody know they have to watch that.
Yeah.
Last few days, Bill, I'm sure you know we've had some coaching carousel stuff hot off the presses, literally within the last few minutes. Breaking news here. Saturday, 2:55 p.m. or Friday, I apologize. Friday, 2:55 p.m. Central Time, 3:55, I believe, Eastern. Uh, Hot off the presses, Mike DeBoer from Washington University has been hired as Alabama's new head coach to replace Nick Saban, the longtime coach at Alabama University who retired last week. He didn't say he resigned. He didn't say he was going to go on and coach. He said he retired. And there was a little press conference he gave or something afterwards. And people close to him say he is just frustrated with the state of the game. The NIL portion is out of control. When you go to recruit kids, the big thing they're thinking of right away now is money, not what, I mean, they always were a little bit. How do I get to the NFL? That was always part of. But now it's like it's blatant, and you put that with the transfer portal, you can't commit to a kid because he can't commit to you. Because that's the hard part. So you're giving him all this free coaching for a year, maybe two, and then he goes somewhere else where he thinks he can make more money. It's hard to build a team for a university and with that setup. I mean, the NCAA says, I'm all about players getting paid. They should get compensated. They're bringing money in for the university. But somehow you've got to make some kind of an agreement with these folks that if you come here for this money that you're talking about, it's like a contract. You got to sign an agreement that you're going to be here so many years. You can be let out of it, if you negotiated or the head coach says, "Yeah, I can see your point." They can let you out of it, but you should. The big thing now is some people are talking about it should be some kind of a contract because players are just leaving. Like,
Right.
if they didn't get enough playing time, they want to go somewhere else where they will.
Sure.
Which is all about money. Always has been in a way, but now it's just out there. This transfer portal, the freedom of it is just crazy. You can walk into the coach's office and go, I'm going to transfer. That's it. Done deal. So that supposedly is a big reason why he retired. Said this past season was just a grind on him. And he realized they wanted him to re-sign a contract for 3-4 years.
Yeah.
And he said, I just can't see that I would do it for 3 or 4 more years.
Yeah.
Just too much
Yeah,
grind.
he has nothing else to prove either.
He's got nothing to prove. Let's face it, he's the greatest. And I didn't always like his methods, but who does? Like everybody, but you can't deny the fact that he's probably the greatest college football coach of all time. I mean, 6 championships, 5 with Alabama, 1 with LSU, which was his first one. Not great in the NFL. But even then, he didn't apparently want to be in the NFL. He was convinced to. But did 2 years and was like, all right, I'm out. I don't want to know. That was always apparently, we found out this week, in place that if he didn't want to stay in the NFL with Miami, he could just go, I don't like it. And that's what he did. And supposedly that's what he did. And I don't blame him. He was taking heat the whole time, basically. So I don't know if he had much of a chance. So he's out. Mike DeBoer from Washington University, who took his team to the championship game. They got throttled by Michigan, but it really didn't open up until the last quarter. It was actually a good game till then. He is going to be the new head coach of Alabama. It was announced just a little bit ago. He's already told Washington, and they are finalizing the deal as far as a contract is concerned with Alabama. So Washington, of course, we'll see who they hire, but a couple other folks had refused or took their name off the list before it ever got overly considered, including Sarkisian. What's his name? Oh, I can't think of his name. Well, must not be that important. Lane Kiffin. He's staying at Ole Miss. That was a name that was getting floated out there. A couple other names, but DeBoer was always in that cluster as well. So he's taking the job. Don't know if I would unless they make it really sweet, because how do you follow a legend?
Yeah, that's for sure. And I don't think the recruiting is going to be as good. So I mean,
No, especially
I don't know.
with,
I probably would have stayed put, but that's me.
yeah, it's true. Speaking of legend, we can start with the NFL legend first. Bill Belichick resigned yesterday, and his replacement was hired today in the early morning hours. It was no surprise. It was somebody on staff already, Gerard Mayo, the defensive coordinator. He's been groomed, apparently. They don't have to go through the process because apparently they put that in his contract when they kept him as DC this past year, that he would be the heir apparent if Belichick does decide to go, or however, if the opening comes up. Belichick says he will coach somewhere else, but they left on good terms, supposedly. It was a mutual decision. And I could see that happening when you saw the press conference. I watched bits and pieces of it, and it looked like that could be the case. All kinds of speculation, of course. The name that really keeps coming up the team is Atlanta, but a lot of people think he wants to win at least 15 to 18 more games. Atlanta's going to need a QB and an offensive overhaul to do that. But they might be able to do that in the draft. They might trade for somebody. They might get a good free agent, bolster up the offense a little bit. Defense was already pretty good. And let's face it, he can coach a defense. Even games they lost just this year, they weren't giving up many points. They just couldn't score. That's a name that pops up. They say Seattle, but probably not. And that's what everybody's saying is they don't think he'll want to go out there and to replace Pete Carroll. There's a couple other spots. A lot of people think this weekend's playoffs could determine some things too. If some teams don't do well, there's talk about Dallas. I don't understand that at all. And there's talk about Philly. I'm not sure I understand that at all either. I mean, I don't think Sirianni's done a bad job. I think he's getting killed by his coordinators at the moment. His two coordinators, everybody forgets, left to take head coaching jobs and are doing either better or pretty well. I mean, the one for the Colts almost got him into playoffs, and the other one improved Arizona, and they're going to keep him around for a while. So I don't see them leaving. But a lot of people think there's Carolina, which would have to be a complete rebuild, but maybe that's what he wants to do because that's what he did years ago in New England and put him on that right path. They did hire a new football operations guy over the last couple of days. Carolina did, but still need a head coach. You got Washington, who also hired a football guy, apparently, a GM or, president of football operations or vice president or something the last couple of days. Actually, a GM, he was the assistant GM of the 49ers. So I guess the 49ers gave permission, and apparently he's been hired by Washington, I think, today. So he'll start with that. And I don't know if they could have blocked him anyway, because in his case, he was an assistant and now he's getting the full job. So it's a promotion. I don't think you can block promotion, except the head coach's team. You can't touch a playoff team on the coaching decisions. Can't interview them or anything like that. You don't want to distract from the playoff team. So that being said, that takes care of Saban. It takes care of Belichick. Pete Carroll has said he would coach again, but I don't know if he's really going to be out there actively looking. He has been hired as an advisor to stay in Seattle in the front office. So they didn't technically fire him. If anything, they probably promoted him or title wise.
I always liked Pete. He always was animated on the
Yeah.
side of
Yeah.
on the field.
Players that play for him love him. He's tough. He's a defensive guy. Defenses were always decent until this year. This year was probably Seattle's worst defense. I don't know. I don't think the coaching changed. It's the personnel.
Right.
You can't blame everything on the coach. You can, and that's what they do, but that's what they do. But you're right. I always like Pete Carroll. And if he decides to take a team that's fairly close, he could do some good things with a team that's borderline as well. So that could be interesting. A lot of people think Belichick, out of respect for New England and the Kraft family, will definitely stay out of the NFC East or AFC East, and are pretty sure he's not even go to the AFC. They think he'll go to the NFC so that he doesn't have to play New England very often and stay away from them.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
so that makes sense. I think that's pretty much it for other sports news. Yankees signed Juan Soto to an extra year to avoid arbitration, so he'll be there for at least 2 seasons. And they signed Marcus Stroman for 2 years from the Cubs to be in the starting rotation. He'll be the number 2 or 3 guy, I'm sure, after Garrett Cole. Nobody else has really done anything in baseball. I think the hot stove league will kick in after the Super Bowl. NBA, we talked about. Hockey's going pretty well. Connor Bedard is going to miss the All-Star game, the 18-year-old sensation for the Blackhawks,
Yeah. Mm.
due to a broken jaw, 6 to 8 weeks. That sucks for him and for Chicago, he'd be their only pick for the All-Star game because every team has to have somebody. And then and it's bad for the NHL. It's a shame. So, and he won't be real strong, after a broken jaw, because you got to figure out a way to keep the protein level up while you're recovering. So he'll lose weight, he'll be weak. So even after he comes back, it'll probably be a good couple of weeks before he's full time on the ice, able to do damage again. So,
Yep.
Otherwise, if you're ready, Bill, let's tackle these picks. I do have
Yeah.
the numbers for the season. And they were, as we thought, very close. In the end, regular season picks, Bill, you were 162 and 104. You cracked the 60% mark, buddy. You had a good week, 11 and 5 on straight up picks. The spread, you had a tough week, 7 and 9. Which put you at 150 and 118 with 13 pushes at 56% for the season. Over under, you were 6 and 9 with a push, which put you at 138, 123, and 7 pushes, 52.9%. So what is that saying? You didn't lose any money, Bill.
No.
But
Nope, not at all.
You would have still won money. So that's the key to us. I got fortunate, but not by a whole lot either. Picks, I had the same record as you, 11 and 5, so I stayed pretty much at 59.3%. So you actually beat me by 1.2% on straight up picks.
Wow.
That's how close we are. On the spread, 152, 116 with 13 pushes. Are you ready for this? Remember, you finished at 56%.
Mm-hmm.
I finished at 57.
Wow.
We're close, but I mean,
Real close.
more proof again that both methods work. You're
Mm-hmm.
more numbers analytical. I'm more eye test. Again, proof that both methods work. Just do your homework, and we both had some games that we took just so we'd have some games against each other.
Different, yeah.
And we also took some games that gambled a little bit. And I could always kick myself in the ass because there are times I didn't go with my first instinct. And you did the same.
Yeah, yeah.
So over under, I was 141, 120 and 7. Here's the kicker. You finished at 52.9% on over under. I was 52.3, which means you beat me by less than a game. One of the pushes, no, we both had the same amount of pushes. So you got me by mere percentage points. So we're close. We're both there, and you're going to make money if you listen to either one of us. I was 10 and 6 on the spread. That's the only way I got to get you, is I had a good week and you struggled a little bit. Otherwise, you would have beat me by 3 or 4%. Over under, I was 8, 7 and 1, and that's the only other reason I caught you by that game. But actually, technically, you still finished ahead of me on over under. So you beat me on 2 of the 3, and the other one, if you think about it, all 3 are pretty much a dead heat.
Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much using 2 different systems, 2 different ways of figuring it out who we want to pick. So that tells you that you weren't going to lose money with us, that's for sure. It just depends on how hard you bet certain games with us.
Hmm.
That's all. Um, all that being said, as my pal Billy likes to say, and I heard somebody say it this week. They were
Oh
doing
yeah.
analyzing a game, and they were
I
like,
think I think I saw that too.
yeah, and I heard that being said, and they went into the exact opposite, like we do, of all that explanation they gave, and they went, that being said, I'm going with, and I was like, I think it was on NFL Network, maybe either that or one of the ESPN.
Yeah, I think it was. I think it was one of the girls. I think it was doing
Oh,
the picks.
ESPN,
The one,
the NFL
I can't
Live
think of her
thing.
name. NFL, yeah, the NFL Live, yeah,
Oh, I think Mina Kimes, probably.
yeah, yeah. I
That
might have,
being,
yeah.
yeah, that being said, and then she went into something. I was like, nah. Billy, are you in her brain? Are you speaking through her? Are you channeling
I
her?
don't know.
'Cause it
I wish I
sounded
was in her
exact.
brain.
I, I know it's not her brain you were looking at. I know, buddy. And I'm with you on that too. I went down. But she's actually a really good reporter. I really like her. So,
Yeah, yes, I like her too. Yeah.
uh, all right. So that being said, here we go, Bill. First game is tomorrow afternoon. Cleveland goes to Houston, and I did these just before airtime. Cleveland is picked by 2 in Houston. So Houston is a dog.
Yeah, they're a home dog. The over under at least 44.5, is it?
Yep, 44 and a half. I took Houston. That's Johnny's upset pick. Well, one of them. Johnny's upset pick is Houston and the over.
All right.
Those
Well,
are in
I
Houston.
think I you know what? I'm not surprised by Houston, but they're playing some really good ball, and I'm happy for them because they weren't supposed to be this far ahead
That's
of,
true.
of their
That's true. I
their
am really
rebuild.
glad to see it, and they did it the right way. I
But
really they're doing.
I like Cleveland having the bye week, and the old man Joe Flacco,
I
I
tell
think
you,
is going to have a field day against that secondary, which I was surprised the Colts didn't try to go against that. They were running the ball
yeah.
so well. They said, "Oh, we don't have to throw in the secondary." But I think Flacco is going to have a big game, and I'm going to take Cleveland in the over.
Okay. Cleveland across the board in the over. I think the difference, well, let's face it, it took a dropped ball for Cleveland for Houston to win. I will say that. Not that Indy would have won, but they
Hmm.
didn't have the chance to. And if he catches that, they're in field goal range to at least tie, maybe go to OT.
Right.
So, and still had time on the clock. So there was a chance they could have scored the TD to win it. So, um, and that brings up interesting stuff for Indy because what do? You got Richardson coming off an injury. You got money. He's they're going to give him the shot. So
Oh,
Gardner
absolutely.
Minshew, who gets you to the brink of the playoffs, and not his fault that they didn't get there, is going to be back on the bench probably, unless somebody trades for him and gives him a shot. Which there's a couple teams. Is he going to be a top 5 quarterback? No. But is he
Yeah.
better than the bottom tier quarterbacks or the bottom half of the league's starting quarterbacks? Yeah. Yeah. And I say give him a shot. But I don't know if anybody will at this point because I don't know if he's under contract for next year or not. But I think he played his way into having a shot somewhere again.
Sure.
We'll see what happens. But okay, so we've got a difference there. You're taking Cleveland across the board. I'm taking Houston across the board. That could be a great game. Uh, so we'll see what happens. KC and Miami in Kansas City, where it will probably be the coldest game of the year. I can tell you that I'm in Kansas, and it is basically, for lack of a better term, frostbite warnings, basically wind chill warnings. If you're outside for more than 20 seconds, you probably will, to bear any bare skin, you will probably get frostbite of some kind. It is bitter cold, and it's supposed to be worse tomorrow. Wind chills, and I can look it up for you.
I think
Fairly,
it's minus 30. I think minus 30.
talking minus 30 tomorrow. Uh,
That's insane.
it is, and as much as I like football, and I know as much as they have, um, a lot of money and all that stuff wrapped up into it. You're expecting fans to show up, players, and they're all putting themselves in really serious harm's way. I mean, weather frostbite is nothing to play with. Uh, and they're talking snowing from 4 o'clock on tomorrow, I think, or that's today. I apologize. Let me look at tomorrow. Saturday, 7 degrees is the high. Wind chill. It's actually temperature wise at nighttime, it's going down to -11 uh, during game time. That's just temperature. And wind chill, wind's going to be 10 to 15 miles an hour.
Mm.
It's not really telling me wind chill at the moment. Oh, here it is. Yeah. Anywhere from -25 to -30 tomorrow, game time. That's just, to me, that's when you got to consider, you know what, you gotta say we gotta wait a couple days or something.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they could because I don't think the weather was going to get any better. I mean,
Well, it's not
they
going to
could have.
get better Monday. Tuesday it goes up to 2 degrees is the low, 10 degrees is the high, and sunny. That's the only day that's pure sun.
I mean, the only thing I could think of is moving
It'd
it
be a
up
full
so
week.
it's during the day where at least if you get some sun. But
Yeah. The
um,
best day is, of course, Wednesday, midweek, when it's going to get up
yeah,
to 30.
and you can't do that because
You
then
do it on Wednesday.
two
All right.
days later
And what,
they could
3 days
even
later, you got to play another game?
yeah.
You can't
So
you can't do it. So they're stuck with it. It's going to remind everybody of the Ice Bowl years ago, and the Giants played the Packers too a couple years ago in Green Bay. Um, Scary part about that, if you're a Chiefs fan, is the visiting Giants beat Green Bay at home that day. So
mhm.
you gotta think of that. Here in St. George, where I'm at, it feels like -6 outside right now. It's 11 degrees, and yes, it is cloudy, like it says. So,
Mhm.
but that is your weather forecast, at least for game time tomorrow. Miami, Kansas City, Saturday night game. It is Kansas City's picked by 4.5. The over
Mhm.
under is 44. I took the Chiefs to win and to cover, but I took the under. I think it's just going to be too brutal for those teams, especially with the wind. One team's to
Yeah,
run the ball well. Now that's the key for Miami, is as well as good as Pacheco is. Miami, I think, has a better running game. If they stick to the ground, which they might have to tomorrow, Miami could very well win. Um, and I originally thought Miami would cover at least. And
yeah,
and you know what? Remember I said I had them all done? I'm going
yeah,
to take Miami to cover. I'm going to change it. I really do. It's 4.5. I think with the weather, that's too much for either team to be, it could be a rout because somebody can't hold the ball, or I'm thinking it's going to be a 17-13 game. So that's why I
yeah.
took the under.
Be.
And I think Miami running the ball, if they run the ball better, which they should, uh, they can, I think they could do two things. One, you keep the ball out of Kansas City's hands. Uh, but two, you control the clock and you win the game. And you
Yeah,
keep that pass rush off of Tua. So I think Miami will cover. I'm going to take the Chiefs to win, but Miami, it wouldn't surprise me if Miami wins because of the running game.
yeah. I mean, they can. I'm going to take the Chiefs across the board and the under also.
Okay.
Um, I just think the weather's just. I mean, it's cold for everybody, but for Miami, I
I think
think
it's
it's
unpredictable. Yeah, but you're right.
very,
Miami's
very,
not used to it. So
very, very bad for Miami.
yeah. And it wouldn't surprise me if it's just an ugly game to watch and bad for the NFL, but there's nothing we can do about it. You can't control the weather. And that segues into the next game for Sunday. The early game is another weather affected game. Not as bad on the quite as bad on the cold front, but it's still going to be cold and it's going to have snow. And that's Pittsburgh and Buffalo. Buffalo is picked by 9 The over-under is 34. That I hate to say it, I think nine's a little high, so I took Pittsburgh to cover, but I think Buffalo will win.
Yeah, I did the same thing. Nine's a lot. Pittsburgh's been running the ball very well, and the only difference here would be the over under. Uh, 34. That's not a lot, but
No, no, it's low.
so I'm going to still take the over there.
Okay, gotcha. So there's two games difference. All right.
You taking the over also?
No, I
Taking the
took
under?
the under. You're probably right because 34 is low, but I'm just thinking with the weather and the snow. I think the difference there for Buffalo is Josh Allen. He can run
Yeah,
himself more, which is less handoffs to people, less risk of fumble. But you're right, their running
yeah,
game, Cook has they've went to the running game more, and that's a big part of why they've really played well the second half of the season. I
yeah.
I believe that.
And Buffalo really hasn't been blowing people out either. So this
No, no,
playoffs,
play close game.
yeah,
That's true. Good point there too. Uh, Sunday late game, late afternoon, I should say. Green Bay goes to Dallas. Dallas is picked by 7. The over-under at AT&T Stadium, where it'll be nice and warm, is 50.5 points. I took Dallas across the board in the over.
yeah. I did the same thing. I think this is going to be blowout city here. Um, Green Bay hasn't been playing bad, but I just think they're no match for Dallas.
Yeah, I think they're just not quite ready yet. Their defense isn't very good. Offense
Mhm.
isn't bad. Maybe one player away down the road on one receiver, but their defense isn't very good at all. Their secondary can get lit up, and I think that's what's going to happen. Wouldn't surprise me if Dak, I heard somebody say today, and it sounded probably about right, if he throws for over 400 yards. Uh, so we'll see. But he could very well light Green Bay up. So,
Yep.
and Sunday night football playoff game, the Rams go to Detroit in the Matt Stafford Bowl. Detroit's picked by 3. Uh, I took Detroit in the over at 51.5 is the over under. I think there'll be some points scored because it's indoors at the Dome. Um, but I will say one thing. If Detroit, well, I think the Rams have run the ball better, which is how they got to where they've gotten. But I think Detroit has overall a better running game. And that's why I think Detroit will pull it out if they stick to the run. If I think if Goff throws more than 25 passes, the Rams will win. And that's just
Yeah, I mean,
an
this
arbitrary
this
number.
is. I really think this is a coin flip game, to be honest with you, because I think Detroit's defensive backs aren't that great, and they just got Cooper Cup and possibly Book of the Year Nakua.
Oh, probably.
So
He's if he's not rookie of
yeah,
the year, I want to get Toronto's
well,
go on a rant.
yeah. I mean, at least an NFC should be at least an
Yeah,
NFC Rookie of the
exactly.
Year, I think.
NFC rookie of the year. I believe you're right.
Because I don't think he'll beat a Stroud out,
Well, Stroud's
but
in
yeah, I
the
mean,
you're right. Yeah.
yeah. That's what I'm saying.
Oh,
Yeah,
you're
that's
right.
why I said
He'll be the one in the
yeah,
AFC.
and he did make the Pro Bowl also. So
Yeah.
I'm with you with Detroit. But to cover my butt, I'm going to take the Rams plus the 3.
Okay.
Maybe it'd be a 1 or 2 point game, and I'll take the over.
Gotcha. And the over.
You got the over too, or
I
no?
could be over as well. Yeah, I think it's going to be a little bit of a shootout. And that could be a running shootout, but the points will be scored, I think. And Monday Night Football is a playoff game. I'm not sure how I feel about them having a playoff game on Monday night. And then whoever wins is going to have to play again on Sunday. They're kind of getting screwed on that 1 day's of rest. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and if you think about it, especially the visiting team who's going to have to travel to
Travel, yep.
wherever. That being said, it is what it is. Philly is picked by 3. It's Philly and Tampa Bay. 43.5 is the over under. I took, hold on to your hats, ladies and gentlemen. I'm an Eagles fan, got on my hat. And I'm rooting for them. And this is where we both have said you got to separate your heart from your vision and what you see. I'm taking Tampa Bay across the board, and I'm taking the under. Uh, I think Baker Mayfield's done really well. The Eagles secondary's banged up, and Tampa Bay's got some weapons. I mean, Mike Evans could tear that secondary up by himself. Baker Mayfield is a lot better than everybody thought. Is he a top five? No. But is he a top half? Yes. He does exactly what you need to do. He'll run the ball if he has to. He'll scramble. He finds ways to move around the pocket. He leads that team. He did bring leadership quality to it. And I've always liked him anyway. I like his attitude. I like his toughness. And the Eagles are banged up. They still don't know if AJ Brown can play. They think he can, but he's got a bad knee. Hurts hasn't thrown a ball since the last game, even in practice, nothing, because of a finger on his throwing hand. So who knows, even if he plays, how well he can throw the football, and can he throw it deep? We don't know. Slay is supposed to come back, but he's probably a little bit hobbled still. So the Eagles have some injuries that they're dealing with. So I don't know. I think they're hobbled. I think they're kind of beat up. And they lost 5 of their last 6, I think. And a couple of them were games they shouldn't have lost, like one to the Giants. They almost lost the first one to the Giants. If it wasn't for a pick in the end zone, they would have lost. If they lost to Arizona, it's 2 games right there that would have given them the division that they should have won. So, and there are other ones they just aren't scoring the points, and they're and I don't like Matt Patricia as their defensive coordinator. But then again, the other one wasn't doing much either. So I think they've got a few issues they need to tighten up. This is not their year. And I think Tampa Bay comes out and beats them. I really do. And I took,
This is one of the games. Yeah, this is one of the games I didn't pick,
aha,
and I don't know. Tampa Bay's been the more hotter team than the Eagles, which maybe not saying too much.
right.
But they only scored 9 points against Carolina in the last game of the season, which it was a must win for them.
Yeah.
So that wasn't too
You're right. No
impressive.
touchdowns either. It was all 4.
Nine up.
Yeah.
But it could be a coin flip. But just to be different, I'm going to take your Eagles. And for some reason, I don't know why, but I'm going to take the over
Okay.
because the
40
Eagles
and a
defense.
half is not a high number. So I think I'm taking the risk going under on the 43.5. I think you're right. I think the 43.5 is a low number. You're right. Eagles defense could step up. If they can get a pass rush, that'll make the secondary look a lot better than,
Yeah,
if
I
they can
mean, I just see,
put some pressure on Mayfield.
I see, I see Goddard getting a ton of balls thrown to him, and Tampa Bay. I don't think that great defending the tight end. Um,
Good point.
of course, they're going to have to run the ball, and which they got away from Swift. I don't know why all of a sudden they're not using Swift,
Yeah.
but
Or if you ever notice, Bill, a couple of the games, they run him in the first half and he does great. And in the second half, they go away from the run. You're right. I don't
yeah,
understand that at all. I mean, there was a game recent, he had over 100 yards in the first half, and then he got maybe 2 carries the whole second half. And I'm like, what are you doing? And they're trying to throw the football. If something's working, stick with it. It's the old
yeah,
yoke mentality. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
yeah. So that's I'm taking Philly. I'm not a Philly fan, as you know. I mean, I
Yeah.
really Tampa win, but
Well, we
And once
have
again, every time I take Tampa, they lose. So
we disagree either on the pick or on the spread in 5 of the 6 games.
yeah,
It's good for interest purposes, buddy. Uh, we'll recap it. Cleveland, Bill's taking Cleveland across the board in the over. I'm taking Houston across the board in the over. The spread is 2. They're picking Cleveland by 2, and so technically that is one of my 2 upset picks of the week. Because now, if you think about it, the Tampa Bay game with the Philly is another upset pick.
yep.
Miami, Kansas City. We both think Kansas City will win. Bill's taking them to cover the 4.5-point spread as well. I think Miami will keep it close. And I think Miami will cover the spread, the 4.5 points. And I took the under, so did Bill, because the weather's going to be brutal. The over-under is 44 points. And I think it's going to be, no matter who wins, a 17-13, 20-17 kind of game. Because the weather's going to be brutal. Pittsburgh, Buffalo, we're different there. We both took Buffalo and Pittsburgh. The only difference is over under. Bill thinks it'll go over 34 points. I think it'll be under. It's a 9-point spread for Buffalo. We both think Pittsburgh will cover that. Green Bay and Dallas, 50.5 over under. It's inside. It's in Dallas. And that's the game where we actually agree across the board. We both took Dallas in the over. Sunday night, the Rams and Detroit in Detroit. The Lions are picked by 3, 51.5 over under. Bill took the Rams to cover the 3 points. I took Detroit across the board. Bill took Detroit to win. We both took the over. I hate 3 points. And I know you do too, because that's got push written all over it. And if somebody kicks a field goal or something. And I will double check at least those last 2 games right before game time to see if it changes to 2.5 or 3.5 or something. And if I see that it does, I'll shoot you a text and see what you want to do.
Yeah, sounds good.
If I change, yeah. And last but not least, Philadelphia, Tampa Bay in Tampa Bay. That might be a good thing for Philly because of the weather. 43.5 points is the over-under. Philly's picked by 3 at the moment. Bill took Philly across the board in the over. I took exact opposite, Tampa Bay across the board and the under. So there you have it.
And I think one other thing, I think Philly's lucky because I think if they would have played anybody else, they'd be done. So I mean, as bad as they've been playing, I think they got the worst team to go against.
Yes, yes. And I'll tell you what, I think this will be the last hurrah, even if they win. Even if they win,
Yeah,
who they would play
absolutely.
next? They would play the team with the next best record, which looks like it would be Dallas. I don't know if Dallas finished ahead of Detroit. No, Detroit. I don't know which one finished 2, which one finished 3.
Well, if Detroit beats the Rams, the Eagles will have to go to, I
Detroit.
believe, San Francisco.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you're right. It would be San Francisco. We forget about the team on the buys here. Yeah. So yeah, Philly would have to go to San Francisco. San Francisco already demolished them once this season. And I think that would happen again. In San Francisco, even though it was a regular season game, they are not going to forget what happened last year with the backs when they had to go to Philly.
Yeah.
You're going to remember that was a playoff game, and they're going to remember that. I don't care what anybody says. These guys do remember that stuff. So, yeah, so they're one and done as far, even if they win it. But it wouldn't surprise me if they're none and done. It's hard when I use the eye test. Like I said, I'm an Eagles fan. Like you said, you're a Washington and Indy fan. And when we look, and you're not an Eagles fan, so for you to take the Eagles, you're using numbers and stuff again. I'm going with an eye test, and I can't see it. I'll listen, and I'm sure you will too, for about the injury updates on that game.
Yeah, the injuries, that'll be a
That's a
big
big
thing.
thing. I mean, if you hear obviously that Hurts can't play or can't throw the ball or AJ Brown's out, I wouldn't surprise me if you want to make a change to your pick.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but that's it, unless you've got something else on the sports horizon, Bill. I think that's pretty
No,
much.
but all these games are brought to our sponsor, Dennis Ingraldi.
That's then you did have something else, Bill, and you are absolutely correct. They are sponsored by our pal Dennis and Graldi. Thanks, Bill. Excuse me. Uh, Dennis is, of course, the I guess the CEO or president or owner, or I'm not sure of the exact title, but I think if I remember right from having an LLC, he's the president of Vineland Realty Corporation, 634 East Landis Avenue in Vineland, New Jersey. Their phone number 856-690-9482. Anything you need, residential, business, realty needs, whether you want to rent something out, you want to rent a place, you want to buy a place, you got to sell a place, and it doesn't matter if it's business or residential, you can buy a business that already exists in a building if you want. Get a hold of Dennis and his crew. Again, that's Vineland Realty Corporation, 634 East Landis Avenue, Vineland, New Jersey. 856-690-9482 is the phone number. If they can't help you themselves, they have all kinds of resources and they will be able to steer you in the right direction. Let Dennis and them folks know that we sent you from the cheap seats or Public John Media, if you remember that, either one. We thank Dennis for all his help, and good thing you're there, Bill, because
I'm here for
we
it.
need to make sure Dennis gets his props. That's for sure. That's Vineland Realty Corporation, 634 East Landis Avenue in Vineland, 856-690-9482. And we know what Dennis is going to say. Go Birds, big Eagles fan. So I'm with you.
Yeah.
I know I picked against them, but that's different, buddy. I'm with you. If they win, I'll be a happy guy. But I just don't see it. So, anything else, Bill?
No, that's it.
That was the most important thing. So,
There you go.
so there you have it.
Save the best for last, Dennis.
Save the
Save the
best
best
for
for last.
last, Dennis. There you go. Billy got you in. So for my pal Billy Smith, when he does scream, it's usually about hockey. Go Chiefs, go Eagles.
Yeah, it's no fun not screaming at the TV. You know, it wouldn't be the same. You know.
Wouldn't be the same. I mean, I've had to learn to be careful not to throw furniture at the TV and not to throw it out the window. So there's a little, but we can at least scream at it. And like I said, go watch that YouTube video, Toronto head coach. It's a classic, Bill. It's a classic, folks. Uh, you won't forget it anytime soon. There'll be words in there that you'll go, "Oh, I remember when this guy said that." I mean, it's fantastic, and he's not 100% wrong. Matter of fact, majority think he's absolutely right. Can you prove it? No, but valid argument, and he lets you know. So,
Yeah. And also look up Jim Moore practice.
that's right. Well,
Practice.
no playoff. Jim
Playoffs.
playoff.
Playoff.
Allen Iverson practice.
Practice. That's right. Look those both up, man.
Look
Just
them
just
both
get
up just in case, because it's been a while for both of those. So in case you missed them, you had playoffs, a rant there, and you had practice by Allen Iverson, and that was a great rant too. That was all practice. And actually, one of them's out kind of on commercial again. They reference at least the tone. Moving, and then finally the guy said, "Oh, yeah, it's the real estate commercial. Oh yeah, guess we're moving." We're not talking about it. We're talking about moving. And I'm like, it's great. So, two classic rants that were, and the playoff one has come up again. Actually, they have Jim Moore. I don't know if it's AI because I don't. Is he still alive, senior?
I believe he's still may. Maybe,
And
yeah.
maybe he was really in this commercial because there's a newer commercial out there.
Yeah, because that was used to, I think it might have been
Playoff
a Bud Light commercial.
might be. He's talking playoffs, and I was like, "Oh man, that's classic. That's great." So, yep. So look up the playoffs rant, the practice rant, and of course this new one, which is a Toronto. You'll probably just put NBA coaches rant, maybe. It is going to go down as a classic. It's awesome. So, for my pal Billy Smith, for Dennis and Graldi and the folks at Vineland Realty Corporation, we thank you guys so much for sponsoring us over the course of the year. We're into 2024, so thank you guys for picking up where you left off. And for all the staff and everyone here at Public John Media, thank you. If we have any updates because of injuries or weather concerns, we will post something and let you know. Otherwise, enjoy the games. We'll talk to you next week and let you know how everything went and any other big sports news that comes up and any more NFL head coaching carousel moves. So for Billy, Dennis, and everybody, thanks for watching, everybody. We will see you. Enjoy the games. It's playoff time, folks. It's do or die, baby.
Enjoy. Stay warm.